just chit-chatting with some people on Ask Yourselves Discord live. And the question was asked, you basically asked, well, what do you mean when you say you've lost... He asked first, what do you mean when you say you've lost faith in veganism as a movement? What's going on? And he went on to ask, well, positively, what is it you would expect vegans to be doing more of? I'm going to give you an example. Back in the day, when I first started talking to Tofu Goddess, another vegan YouTuber, she's a Canadian citizen, I'm a Canadian citizen. So I said, look, let's get organized and let's lobby the school boards in Canada. Let's get organized. She was getting a degree in education. So I forget, master's in education. She was going to become a school teacher. Say, okay, let's go around and challenge the fact that in the classroom, students are taught that cow milk is part of a healthy diet, this kind of thing. Let's actually get out there and say, no, as a matter of scientific fact, eggs are not healthy, cow milk is not healthy, and it's immoral for students to be taught this stuff. Now, there's also a question about meat and dairy companies paying money so that they can advertise to students in the classroom. So that's a form of activism, really getting organized. There was another vegan YouTuber called Modvegan, and I talked to her about getting organized to actually do public outreach and education, and then also ultimately some kind of legal challenges about leather. So leather doesn't just pollute the rivers, it also pollutes your home. There are toxic byproducts that the leather actually sheds. It's remarkably toxic as an actual substance, so it's actually a minor threat to your health as someone. If you are someone who owns leather and wears leather, it damages your health. But of course, it also damages the health of a lot of the workers, the employees who make the leather. And there are other stages of production where there are questions of contamination, pollution. So to do public outreach and education and to start lobbying on that, start pressuring for political and social change. And it never happened. Now, those are not the two worst examples. Those are two of the most positive examples. Those are two of the only fucking people who ever even discussed with me the possibility of doing something in real life to make a difference. And sure, it's with regret that I've got to look back at the last 5 years and say nothing ever happened. Those people talked to me for a short time, and they pursued a certain level of fame or notoriety here on YouTube. And, then it just petered out. Basically, it was at the time when I was coming back to Canada. I was like, okay, great, I'm finally coming back to Canada from China, which is a big sacrifice. I was trying to get my own projects going in terms of vegan activism. And the very few people who would ever talk to me about doing something in real life, or even meeting with me in real life, every single one of them finked out. And sure, that included Vegan Gains. That included Richard. So he was asking a minute ago, like, what happened to me and Richard? I was like, well, in some ways, nothing happened. I never slept with Richard's girlfriend or something. Like, we didn't have a conflict of that kind. But, so I was in China packing up to move back to Canada. And I actually had a list of people to buy gifts for, like gifts. So like when you come back, say, oh, hey, I bought you this when I was living in China. And Richard was on the list. And one day he just freaked out and sent me a message saying, Aizal, your videos about racism, you're like too anti-racist. You're basically always saying that other people are racist and accusing people of racism and just, I don't want to talk to you, like, fuck you. And he blocked me. That was the end of the conversation. Mic drop. And he blocked me on Facebook and never spoke to me again, kind of thing. Now, he has said a few things to me since then. Since then, he threatened to sue me, for example. He threatened to sue me and get my videos deleted and get my channel taken down. So he's been even more hostile since then. But yeah, long story short. So if you ask, why am I disappointed with veganism as a movement?
Yeah.
And those aren't the most negative, those are the most positive examples, because at least at one time there was the potential there. At one time there was the potential for something positive to happen through collaboration with Richard, Vegan Gains, through collaboration with Modvegan, through collaboration with Tofu Goddess. With a lot of other people, there was never even a chance.
Did you even meet up with Tofu Goddess?
No, I've never met her face to face. Yeah, no, there were a lot of people, we did some videos where people picked up on, like, they felt there was a flirtatious vibe between us. So a lot of people think she and I were in a relationship, but no. And by the way, I don't even think she ever liked me or anything. I don't think that was ever a component.
So the thing I would ask you is, what do you think about the idea that, like, veganism is, like, just not doing, so, like, what you're talking about is, like, doing, like, some really good things in the world and getting veganism sort of the ball rolling a bit more.
Trying to do something, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But like, what do you think about the idea that like veganism isn't inherently about that? Like, it's just about not doing that bad thing. Like at its core, you know, it's like if I was like raping babies 5 times a week, and then I stopped doing that,
right?
You wouldn't call that person a good person, you know? What I mean? You would say like, okay, great, you stopped doing that bad thing. It doesn't.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
I completely know what you mean. Okay. The thing is, it's not just that I want to put out the fire if my own house is on fire. If someone else's house is on fire and is burning down, I also want to help. I want to take responsibility for that. I want to make the world a better place. So, you know, in religions like Buddhism and Hinduism, historically, vegetarianism just became centered on one's own personal moral purity, on one's own karma, which is like saying, oh, well, I only care if my own house is on fire, right? And that's not my perspective. My perspective is, hey, I care about all of our homes. I care about the whole city, or the whole, however you want to look at it. Ultimately, the whole world, right? So, like, yeah, if I personally am not killing any cows, just to simplify a bit, yeah, okay, that's nice. But if my next door neighbor is killing cows, if every day I go to work and all of my coworkers are killing and eating cows, obviously it's merely of kind of a tokenistic or symbolic thing that I may be resolved, you know, to never do that kind of harm myself. So the next step, which is inevitable, is that you reach out to other people and say, look, I'm vegan. Won't you be vegan too? I feel this isn't just a moral obligation for me. I think it's a moral obligation for everybody. So that's the kind of human to human, face to face, you know, element of it. But then, of course, you scale it up. I mean, just as I'm using the example of the fire, because the fire is impersonal. It's just a force of nature, whatever. It's a chemical reaction, or I don't want to say it's a hazard. But, you know, there's when you scale it up, you're talking about a mass, you know, social, economic, cultural phenomenon, which is in some ways just raging like a fire, unchecked. You have to say, well, there are all these other things we have to do to stand up and challenge this fire. Most people don't even think leather is an ethical issue. They tend to think fur is, which is kind of interesting. But it's now say, hey, wait, you know what? Leather is an ethical problem. It's an ecological problem. It's even a health problem for you. I want you to know, and then I want legislation, even if it's just taxes. Imagine if we could just get a 10% tax on leather, and people really saying, look, leather has to be phased out. It has to become a thing of the past. Yeah. It's a big cultural and economic turning point. So I'm never going to make that happen by just being focused on my own personal purity, you know, my own home or something. I've got to do it by reaching out to others. Yeah, so I just say that's inevitable. But of course, on a kind of strictly logical level, of course you're correct. Veganism only requires that you personally desist from this immoral act. Sure, that's true. Yeah, I would never say that someone is not vegan because they're not making the further effort to help other people or to help animals or to help the planet. This is true. But as you know, cocaine is vegan. You can be vegan and be a cocaine addict. Doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah.
Depressing, huh? You got another movement I can join instead? You got a better suggestion? It's really awful.
Communism?
Right. How much
you love communism, Idol?
Last couple days, talking to a lot of communists, and I talked to one conservative and several right-wing people. I talked to one person who was really extreme right-wing. I've talked to people from different movements. And I think a lot of those people are desperate to cling to something that makes them feel like they're making the world a better place. And they're not. What they're clinging to is fucking horrible. You know, it's like if you think about the ocean, and you have drowning men clinging to driftwood, you know, but some of them are deluded and think that this driftwood is a god. You know, like the communists and the fascists, they believe in this fucking piece of driftwood, and you know,
just like salt everything.
Right? Yeah. And I'm just not deluded enough to look at these ideologies and see it that way.
Just to bring it back to what we were saying
sure.
before. But don't you think that you're trying to make a difference with the world to change things with veganism? Don't you think you're doing like your little bit of a part through your YouTube channel? Other vegans are doing it through the internet. The internet is a great way to reach other people. If it wasn't for the internet, I definitely wouldn't be vegan. That's for sure.
Yeah, right. Well, look, the internet does harm also, right? So the internet has really
Yeah,
damaged
I
my
agree.
life. It'll always-
Like if it wasn't for the internet, we probably wouldn't have flat earthers right now.
Okay, great point. But so there's a human scale, like one individual human scale, and there's the mass social scale too. And that's a good example. And I think another example would be the anti-vax hysteria. Things like that can spread too. That's on the mass scale. But on the human one-to-one scale, you know, I've been applying for jobs. When my employers Google my name, one of the top results is Norvegan's channel. Norvegan saying Eisel Mazard makes excuses to support a rapist. It's something like that. It's like, you know,
That's rough.
and now, of course, that already looks bad if English is your first language. What if Chinese is your first language? So I've had that kind of defamation and denunciation of me on the internet from other vegans. It's never been meat eaters. I've never been facing that kind of hostility. It's from other, including Vegan Gains. Remember, Vegan Gains threatened to sue me. I've never had a meat eater threaten to sue me. I've never had a meat eater threaten to shut down my channel. It's other vegan streamers. But look, on a human level, you know, yes, I was one of the people talking about it honestly. Look, vegans come on the internet to get laid. They come on the internet for sex, money, fame, so they don't have to feel so alone. You know, you feel isolated, you feel powerless, you want to have friends, you want to fall in love. Yeah. You know, I don't think that's evil at all. I think that's a totally legitimate part of it. And that's hypothetically the most positive part. Today, so after 5 years, it's been more than 5 years I've been on YouTube. I would say I have one friend, one real life friend, as a result of this YouTube channel. One in the whole world. He's appeared on the channel, actually. His first name is Muhammad. So he's actually appeared on the channel. We've met in real life and we're friends. There were maybe 2 people who I'd consider close friends by Facebook only, like we've never met. But we do have messages back and forth. So sorry. I mean, this just gives you an idea. And then I've already said to you, in terms of other activists or organizations, it's like it's zero now. In the past, there's been 1 or 2 people where there was some hope of collaboration and working together. But it's really that bad. So look, that's not zero outcome. You could say, well, gee, what if during these 5 years I hadn't been on the internet at all? Then I wouldn't even have those few friends, right? And I've gotten laid through YouTube. It's certainly improved my. Well, okay, no, okay, wait. Let's even challenge that. Let's even fucking challenge that. Maybe, okay, I've gotten laid because of this YouTube channel. But if I didn't have this YouTube channel, then I would have been making more of an effort to connect to people face to face, not meeting women, you know, through the internet, not meeting women through veganism. I would have met different women, and it would have forced me to compromise and work with. You know, I was at University of Victoria. It would have forced me to socialize with and make connections with people who happen to go to my university or happen to be at my gym. And of course, 98% of them or 99% are not vegan. It'd be something else you'd have in common that you have. So I don't even know that. It really is possible I would have been better off not having my sex life and my social life being dominated by this fucking failure of a movement this way. It's failed so far. Doesn't mean it's always going to fail. But so far, last 5 years, I see a lot of failure, sure.
But veganism?
Oh, yeah.
One of the most exciting things for veganism is these new burgers, like the Beyond Meat burgers.
Okay, is that a political movement to you?
Not
okay.
Well, a little bit.
Okay, but look, I live in Taiwan, right? So in Taiwan, veganism as a diet is way more successful than in America or anywhere in Europe. We're either number 1 or number 2 in the world for veganism. The highest rates of veganism in the world are basically Taiwan. There are a couple of specific towns within India, not India as a whole, where it's again linked to religion, and then basically the city of Tel Aviv in Israel. Those are the big success stories for veganism. So this is absolutely one of the most. But guess what? As a movement, in terms of ecology, ethics, and politics, it's dead. But I live in a small town with more than 30 vegan restaurants. There could be 50 vegan restaurants here. I don't think anyone's counted them all. There are more than 30 vegan restaurants here. Veganism as a diet is huge. Vegan activism, 0. And I used to be in a big city, still in Taiwan, Kaohsiung, just down the road. 0. And I was really going and asking. I was really trying to meet vegan activists and find out what was going on in the movement. Absolutely 0. So this is just my warning to you. yeah, there can be products, there can be economic activity, but it's important to remember that this is a very different question from the progress of the movement.